then once Chris Getz took over and started saying, okay, look, this ain't working. We're going to go ahead and we're going to restructure from the bottom up. We're going to get the right guys in the player development division. We're going to go and we're going to acquire the right guys through trades, even though they may look bad at the time. Look what it is doing right now. And you say they turned around right away. They didn't. This was a 4-year rebuild. How we doing, everybody? We are Two Johns and a Mike. Here we go, boys. Another edition. That's John. This is John. And that's Michael. And we are Two Johns and a Mike. And we are back at it again here after a pretty exhilarating World Cup run from the USA team, which may not have ended the way that we wanted it to. Boys. I know Michael and John both have a couple things to say about that. We'll push that off a little bit, but there's a few things we want to talk about today. Michael, you got anything you want to say?
Well, I've got my don't eat the cake segment. I'll save that for there.
That's a good idea.
Regarding the soccer team, which not the don't eat the cake, but the World Cup game. I did watch that last game. Honestly, America deserved to lose that game. Their defense was terrible. I don't know how they were able to, if they played the way, because I didn't watch the other games. If they played like that, they didn't deserve to win that game. Their defense was non-existent. They looked like the Keystone Cops. They were just they played awful. They couldn't stop anything.
So here's the thing. When it comes to hosting countries, whoever the hosting country is, that team automatically qualifies. So I'm on the fence. Like, I don't know if they went through like regular for qualification. I think Mexico might have been able to get in, but I don't think Canada or the U.S. would have qualified for this year's cup.
They played a couple games and won.
They both Canada and the U.S. overperformed, but it was one of those things where when they went up against like better teams, like that's when they kind of showed their ass, and the same thing with Canada. Like, I thought Canada was going to easily get past Morocco, but Morocco just did the same thing that Belgium did to the U.S. So it's, this is one of those things. Like, if they made it past Belgium, like there's no way they're beaten. No, there's no way they're beaten. I'm trying to remember the brackets, but there's no way they're beating France. There's no way they're beating Spain. There's absolutely no way they're beating Argentina.
Well, you say there's no way. You say there's no way, but there's a reason you play the games, Michael. And they already they upset a couple of teams, didn't they?
Mm-hmm. They did. They did. Most definitely.
What's to say they couldn't? But obviously they kind of crumbled under the pressure there as soon as they played. Was it Belgium? Mm-hmm. Not that I watched a whole lot of it, which I didn't really watch a whole lot of. But there is a reason you play the games. You have to allow it to play out. And I think they would have had a chance maybe if they showed up to play a little bit, because they stunk.
I actually watched that game.
The specific play that kind of like showed like how we were performing was that poor goalie went to clear the ball, and he wound up just spiking his foot straight into the goal. Oh yeah.
It looked like the Keystone Cops. It's like, what are you?
They were hungover. That's probably the issue.
Yeah.
I mean, I watched the game. I was trying to do my due diligence for the show and watched more soccer than I ever have in my life. And
you're a better man than me, Michael. I didn't watch a single minute of it. No, actually, I bet on a couple games. I bet on a couple games. So I bet on Rio Verde, and they almost won.
The only thing I can say about it is
Cape Verde.
Yeah, Cape Verde. Yeah.
That was a fantastic game. That was a fantastic game. So
all I can say about the Belgian game, though, is it looked to me more like the U.S. lost that game than Belgium won it. I didn't see that Belgium did anything fancy to win the game. We just blundered the ball. We're kicking the ground instead of the ball. We're out of position. Our passes are terrible. Our defense was non-existent. If they might as well have just put everyone in the forward zone, you would have had the same effect. I didn't see that Belgium had to work very hard for their wins. I don't think that they did anything particularly brilliant where you go, oh my God, Belgium's really good. No, America was just that bad. They were terrible.
Yeah, and unfortunately, like when it comes to North America teams, they're we're still a ways away of competing, like really competing.
Could also be that they got the buzzer in their pocket. The Vegas beeper popped up and said, "Hey, listen, I need you to flop right here." It's very possible. Who knows?
Very possible.
I suppose, but if that was a normal American sport, everyone would be calling for everyone on that team to be fired.
Oh,
here's the thing: it's not a normal American sport.
I have some hardcore videos to show you. There's a guy out of New York. He's an Asian guy. He's an American Asian guy. His name is Mackwell, and I follow him and watch his videos because he talks on soccer and international soccer. And English soccer. He's a big Arsenal fan, and Arsenal's my team. And he makes really, really funny videos. His video in the U.S. was scathing. Like it was exactly like fire everybody, and even like our star boy Pulisic. I can never say his name correctly. Pulisic. Like he's very, very good. He plays over in Germany. He's a very good player, but he's been playing injured, and he did not come out for this tournament. And he is injured, but that guy was like, "F you, Pulisic, don't ever come back. Go to Germany, stay in Germany." Blah, blah, blah. He was hot. So for the hardcore followers of the game, yeah, they're quite upset.
Well, that kind of feeds into my point, John, is because you look at the hardcore followers in the United States, and there aren't a whole lot. There's you, right. You're a devout fan. You're actually you know more about this than Michael or I combined by light years, right? So
right.
which is great, but brings me to my point is you look at the public money betting on that USA Belgium game. I guarantee you that 80% of it was on the United States, and it was all from the United States. So you're telling me that Vegas didn't have a little bit of footprint in that? So I like to look. I like to look at the public betting and the smart betting, right? And the smart betting. I guarantee you that a good portion of the money was on Belgium, and the public betting's entire bank was on the United States because
most definitely.
Well, we want them to win, right? It's like it's just like betting the over on everything. It's like we want to see scoring, so the public betting's gonna be on a 50-point NFL game or something like that. But
right.
Guess what? Be smart. Yeah, they were never good enough to win that game, unfortunately.
Are we finished with soccer for now? Because
for now.
I have another thing to talk about in Chicago sports, and this is going to be felt this fall, but I don't know if you've heard, but Connor Bedard was playing in a scrimmage, and he went into the boards and seriously hurt his shoulder, and he is out until middle to late October.
Was it into the boards, or I thought he just tripped and fell?
He tripped and fell and went into the boards.
Oh, he was on his own, though. He wasn't checked. It was a casual, just kind of a trip. Lost a skate.
He was hit, but he wasn't checked into the boards. He was hit, and he kind of stumbled forward into the boards. It was a clean hit. It wasn't even really a check. It was more of a shove, get out of the way, and he stumbled, lost his footing, and went into the boards. And he went in head first.
Makes a little bit more sense that they made that Greenway trade, because obviously if somebody blows on him, he's going to get an injury of some kind. You know what I mean? So he's got to be protected at all costs.
It wasn't the shoulder that was hurt last year, but they're talking. I was listening to the score, them talking about it on there, and he still needs some surgery done on that other shoulder. And they're talking now they might just go ahead and do both because he's going to be out anyways. But if they do both, he might be out longer or take him longer to rehab. But he's out at least until October. It's possible he could be out until November, but it's a little bit early to guess that.
That's not terrible, though. I mean, that's not a terrible timeline, but what you have to look at is he actually made of glass? Like, he's supposed to be the face of the franchise, and he's had two is he actually just injury prone? Do you start looking at that and saying, what do we have?
Is he the Blackhawks Derrick Rose?
No,
he's not quite. No.
So
let's pause there for a second, because Derrick Rose is a Hall of Famer, and he he had his jersey retired. His years, yes, I see the parallel you're drawing right there. But Derrick Rose was not made of glass. He was a hard dude, man. That dude deserves all the credit. He was just so explosive that his body couldn't handle it. I don't know if Bedard's in that boat, because he just fell into the boards and hurt. He might just actually be injury prone.
So he didn't just fall into the. I have some experience with this because I broke a guy's collarbone doing something similar to what happened to Bedard. You guys know I was a goalie, and I had a guy coming in on me hard, and I stacked
pause.
Not like that. But,
rephrase that, Michael. Come on, dude. Think about what you're saying.
He was doing a breakaway. He was doing a breakaway. He was charging the net. I stacked my pads, with you slide your legs. He went into my pads. I took his legs out. He went flying past me, went head first into the boards. This is what Connor Bedard, this is what happened to him. So he tripped, was falling forward, and went head and shoulder first into the boards.
Nobody touched him, Michael.
He didn't get
Nobody
shoved
touched him,
directly
Michael.
That's not entirely true.
It's pretty true. Look, I'm not trying to debunk your story. I get what you're saying. Sorry, go ahead.
But he went into the boards, and he went into the boards at a bad angle. It's not like it's one thing when you're being checked, and you can a good hockey player knows how to use the boards to absorb most of the check. A lot of times the guy checking you is going to feel more impact than you are if you're prepared for it. He was stumbling and falling. He didn't have time to
like
go
a baby giraffe.
It was a bad but it was a bad hit. He went into the boards in a bad way, and this is going to hurt anybody. It's not it was a freak accident. It's not something that I would say he's weak or he's injury prone. This would get
nobody's saying
anybody.
that. Nobody's saying that.
Well,
but
you asked the question if he was.
He might be. I don't know. I'm just saying, like,
this is a legit injury. It's not.
Okay.
It's not. Oh, I pulled a hamstring.
I'm not trying
or
to
something.
He's a generational talent, but if he's injury prone, I've seen some other guys in different sports that
it would be amazing if he wasn't injured when he went into the boards.
So I have a funny Derrick Rose tangent. So on Fullerton Avenue in Chicago, when it goes under 90, there was like a water stain that had happened, and it was one of those things that somebody walked by and saw the Virgin Mary, and so they turned it into like a makeshift, like a Virgin Mary shrine, and it was nationally, maybe even globally famous because they kept it there for a long time. I visited it a few times. I took friends there.
I remember this story.
So when Derrick Rose got injured, somebody built, I'm not sure if it was like in the same underpass. I'm trying to remember where it was, but it was like an underpass. They built a Derrick Rose shrine in the same way. They made it look like the Virgin Mary and Derrick Rose. They put 2 crutches there. I was like, oh my, I took so many photos of it, and there was so many people who were like, oh, come on, man.
Dude, that sucks, because Derrick Rose needs to have a little bit more respect put on his name.
I agree with you 100%. If those injuries didn't happen, if he didn't get traded, he
got traded because of the injuries.
Right.
Was the end, and rightfully so. Like, I hate to say that, but rightfully so. However, like when he was in his prime, when he was the MVP, have you ever watched those highlights? Have you ever heard what the league says about him?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of guys ended up with injuries the day before Derrick Rose came into town. Oh, my ankle hurts. Nobody could stop him. He was every bit as good as anybody you've ever seen when he was in his prime. And there's a reason his number, he was scary. He was absolutely one of the most scary basketball players we've ever seen. And I would take prime Derrick Rose. I'd love to see prime Derrick Rose face off against prime Michael Jordan or prime Kobe Bryant one-on-one. That would be fun. That'd be something I would love to hear. Any viewers we have, what do you think would happen? Prime Derrick Rose one-on-one against prime Kobe Bryant or prime Michael Jordan. I would love to hear what people have to say about that. And I'll probably get crucified for bringing that topic up because he hasn't proven himself at the capacity that Michael or Kobe did.
Mm-hmm.
Shit, I'd like to see him put up against prime LeBron. I bet you he beats him in a game to 21. I bet you he wins 21 to 6 over LeBron. I bet you he owns him. He was a menace. He was one of the best basketball players we have ever seen in his prime.
I'm no expert. I'm no expert, but I would say yes, he beats LeBron, doesn't beat Kobe or Michael.
I'd like to see it though. I don't know.
It'd be
that's how good he was.
Good pay-per-view.
Yeah, I'd pay to see that.
So, speaking of basketball, this draft class this year is insanity. Like they're saying, like the top 4 guys are gonna. People are saying that they might like truly change a game.
And possibly the Bulls got the best guy, Caleb Wilson, not Caleb Williams, Caleb Wilson.
Caleb Wilson.
How hysterical is that?
Did you see his debut?
Yeah, he recently put up the most points in the debut of all time.
Yeah,
ever.
yeah, and
second most of all time. Period.
My favorite highlight from it is that, like early in the game, he loses the ball, it gets stolen, and it gets taken all the way to the other end,
and he rejects it.
He hustles and rejects it. Like I replayed that like 7 times. I was like, "That's the play.
There it is. That's the guy.
That's the play." And the thing is, those like him dunking 3-pointers from like every corner, even like the last shot of the game.
He's special, man.
It's from the practically a half point. Like I love me 3-pointers. I've loved them my entire life, but my favorite is when somebody hustles and stuffs somebody at the other. That's my favorite.
Yes.
Like when he hustled down, and man. So that's what I'm looking for. Also, he's got insane reach. If you go to his college highlights, I feel like he comes from like Oklahoma to do some of these dunks.
Nobody's seen. You don't see that. You do not see that. You see that from Vince Carter. Like the names that you can bring up are pretty special names. You know what I mean? Like Jordan did it. Vince Carter did it. Kobe was one of those guys that LeBron does it too. But the way he's able to maneuver his body, put himself in positions, he looks like a superstar already. And it's going to be fun. I'm going to watch basketball again because of him.
So there's also,
I wanted to go back.
Go ahead.
I wanted to go back real quick to Derrick Rose against LeBron James because they played against each other. And I called up some stats here on AI. And in 2011, the Chicago Bulls played the Miami Heat. Miami won 4-1. And in 2015, Roses played the Cleveland Cavaliers. Cleveland won 4-2.
Are the Cavaliers anything like the Cavaliers?
Cavaliers. Sorry.
Sorry.
I misspoke. But
sorry, I'm going to do it too.
On the 2011 season, though, Rose was the NBA MVP. LeBron came in third. But in the finals, in the team games, LeBron's teams won both of the finals series.
Yeah, but did Derrick Rose have Chris Bosh and Dwayne Wade on that team?
No, he did not.
No, he did not. He had Joakim Noah.
A lot to be said to that, but he really he did beat LeBron for MVP in 2011. I asked for head-to-head comparisons, and they played 24 regular season games. LeBron's record was 13-11. LeBron averaged 26.9 points, 9.3 rebounds, and 7.5 assists. Derrick Rose had 18 points, 3 rebounds, and 5.5 assists. They played 16 games in the playoffs. LeBron got 27.8 points, 9.4 rebounds, 7.9 assists. Derrick Rose got 23.8 points, 4.3 rebounds, and 6.8 assists.
It's fairly comparable.
Comparable, but LeBron was better in each one.
Yeah, for sure.
But he had better teammates.
But that doesn't matter. Like head-to-head comparison, nobody's saying LeBron isn't special, by any means. So that's not the conversation.
One-on-one, though, it'd be an interesting match.
I think Rose got that
I
dog, baby. I think Rose got more of a dog in him than anybody else. Yeah,
I think Rose out hustles him.
Yes, I think I'm a huge Derrick Rose advocator. I think he's a say he stays in his prime and he doesn't get hurt. I think we're talking about him in the top 5 players of all time. I think that.
I wouldn't argue against it.
Hot take, but top 5 players of all time. Derrick Rose would be there if he never got hurt. He was special.
I think overall LeBron is a better shooter, but I think Derrick works harder.
That's a tough take, but you know what? Whatever. You know what, Michael? If you stand by it, I'm okay with that.
It's LeBron's got a history of
how much
being
basketball
a good
do
shooter.
you watch, Michael? That you can make
not
that
as much
claim.
as I used to.
Yeah,
I used to watch a lot.
He's a better shooter, but he hustles more. That's such an old scout way to say things. Yeah.
We do have some
swallow that take, dude. I love you, but swallow that take.
So, do you guys know this guy Robbie Avila? Avila. I'm trying to. So he's this. I'm only bringing him up for comedic effect. I really like the guy. He's this guy that played at St. Louis University. He's undrafted, and he signed some type of contract with the Lakers, and he's doing the summer league. But unfortunately for him, like I think he's a really good player, but he's one of those guys. He's a center, so he's really tall, but he's kind of like disproportionate. He looks really, really awkward.
Kind of like Victor Wembanyama.
Kind of, but he's a white kid. He wears these like thick goggles when he plays.
I love that.
So
the great white hope, other than flag.
So that really great. But the announcers was giving this kid such a hard time. They called him Milk Chamberlain. They called him Cream Abdul-Jabbar. College Jokic. So they.
Is he good though? It doesn't matter. He's good.
So I don't know if it's gonna transfer to I don't know if it's going to transfer to the NBA. He was good in college. Like he was good. He's good enough to be. He signed a what they called Exhibit 10 contract. So like he was good enough where enough people looked and was like, let's give this kid a try. But I don't know if he's going to make the final team.
I know nothing about it.
Mm-hmm.
So you're the only one that has information on this.
So, yeah. And I've been following this kid for a little bit because there were 2 kids in college. There's this guy, and I don't know the name of the other kid, but this kid was no, unfortunately, just like a big fat kid. Like every time he came out onto the court, and for like big college games and what have you, and he was one of those players where, like I don't want to dunk on him too hard, but he was good enough. But it was one of those things where you get him on the court, and people look at him like, who the hell is this fat guy on the court? And then then he can go out and he can make plays, especially like outside shooters and things like that. So, those anomalies happen every now and again. I'm really fascinated with them, and
I love when they do too.
Mm.
You look like a Riku Nishida, who's he's not up with the White Sox anymore, but like we're still Rico fanatic up here in Chicago. It's when's Riku coming back?
Who's that guy? 5'1". Who's that guy on the Mets? That I feel he's like a Hispanic guy. He's at least in his 40s. He looks like an overweight dad that they only bring. He's a pitcher. They only bring him in on certain things where you're like, okay, dad just came on the field and he comes in and he pitches a whole bunch of strikes and then leaves, like a very specific thing. I keep trying to look this guy up, but he plays on the Mets and he's really, really funny to watch. So
I can't pinpoint who you're talking about, but I there's a few guys like that. You look at Kritchik with the White Sox, and they have they have a T-shirt. It's like best team dad or something like that. Schomburg was just getting interviewed about that. Like he didn't get he's pissed he didn't get a T-shirt about it. But it's funny that they do that with those guys. That's good culture, good team camaraderie, and everything else like that. But all right.
So speaking of the White Sox, I wanna talk some White Sox here because
let's talk. Because I'd love to talk. So I love talking about the White Sox.
Yeah. So I really.
Well, we know they just had their draft.
We'll talk about the draft, but no, John and I talked about this a little bit before we went live. The guy who hit for Cycle, and
Tristan Peters, Savannah Banana.
And that's one of my favorite things. Like I didn't know he was a Savannah, but people kept saying the Savannah Banana, and then when I looked at his thing, like his road to the
who's now an All-Star, a Major League All-Star.
That's insane. That's insane.
He was a Savannah Banana last year. Mm-hmm. He's just out there having fun. Mm-hmm. One of the best teammates you could possibly ask for, and he comes out, and all of a sudden, imagine being on a gimmick team. Obviously, he was doing pretty well. He was making good money. He was very capable. Right. Mm-hmm. His contract was purchased by the White Sox from the Tampa Bay Devil Rays, right? Mm-hmm. And they put him in the major leagues. What do we expect? It's kind of like Romo, the catcher. Like they've hit on so many of these guys that we talked about in one of our previous podcasts. But now you got Tristan Peters. Wow, this guy came out of nowhere. Now his WAR, I think, and his XWAR, whatever it is like, I think his actual WAR is one of the he's like the second best center fielder in the major leagues right now, based off of WAR. His defensive prowess, his ability to disrupt on the base path, and now all of a sudden he's hitting like 300, 301 now with a cycle. Yeah. Which, by the way, was the fifth overall cycle that's ever happened from the 9-hole. And he hit a home run and a triple in the same inning to make it happen. That's never happened in the history, in the 200+ year history of baseball. It's never happened.
The hardest part of the cycle is getting the triple.
Oh, by the way, he was mic'd up. He was mic'd up that game. Did you hear what he said? He's like, I'm not going to take this mic off until I get out. He's like, well, shit, I guess I got to keep it on. And then all of a sudden he hits for the cycle, and the seventh inning, he might have gone to bed with that mic in his behind his pillow. Oh my God.
Him getting that triple was awesome. Just like as soon as he hit it, like him making that decision, just going down first base, like, yep, I got to do this now and ever.
You have to do it. And the controversial thing was they were up 11-1 or whatever it was. You go for it. Mm-hmm. It went down the line. The second that he hit that ball down the line and they were playing the shift the other way, I'm like, oh my God, he's going to go for it. Mm-hmm. Let's see what happens here. And he did it. And it was just like, the funniest part about this though is so obviously the crowd was going nuts. The bench was going nuts. He stands up, does his thing. They pan to the dugout, and Noah Schultz, my boy, is standing there. He looked like one of the people in the stands in a 2000 Madden football game, going like this. He looked like a generic. You can tell that he was fired up about it, but he looked like a generic fan in the stands in like the 2002 Madden upcoming video game of just one of those guys in the stands doing this. Noah, I love you, but it looks ridiculous. It was so funny.
So, John, I want you to carry this segment because I want to hear, because you're heavily into this, both, on both sides of the ball and everything. So, your thoughts on what's going on in the draft right now for the Sox?
All right. So,
I also want to point out before we get into it, you called it. You said
you called it
months ago that they were going to pick this guy.
Well, here's the thing. They obviously, the White Sox took Rock, the shortstop from UCLA. Mm-hmm. It was a no-brainer. And to me, like 6 months ago, this is actually a pretty interesting conversation. And this is the way I love talking about the draft, obviously, because I went through it. I got drafted, and I understand the weight of what the draft actually is for the kids this age and what they're actually going through. So I have an intimate kind of relationship with what the draft goes, plus with the fact that I am a sports agent and I represent a lot of the guys that are going into the draft right now. So it takes you back. It's a little nostalgic for me, where I remember where I was at that point in time. However, we talk about what the draft looks like, and initially when I talked to a couple of guys in the front office with the White Sox, I was like, "You guys got the first pick. What are you going to do?" And they're like, "Well, the no-brainer is Rock." Yeah, I mean, he looks like a generational talent, but what happens with every single draft, you lean up to it, and it's reactionary to the extent of the degree, right? So all of a sudden, the conversations are, "What does he do? How can we need to make sure this is right because we have the first overall pick?" And to me, Michael, John, I talked to both of you guys about this individually. Don't mess this up. Do the no-brainer pick. If they don't take Rock and he goes off and he becomes Bobby Witt Jr., you look idiotic. It's the easy pick. Just go and do it. It's like the Caleb Williams draft when he's the 101. If you're not going to trade that pick down to get more picks or to bolster like the back end of your roster and you don't think he's the guy, then go get what you need to go. But if you're actually going to make that pick, take Rock. Don't be an idiot.
Yeah.
And they did what they should have done. But the big thing for me, what they did when they traded Gonzalez, when they traded Jacob Gonzalez, which, by the way, RIP, dude, like not RIP to your career, but RIP to you being on the White Sox. Thank you for everything you have ever done for the White Sox organization. You are a absolute class act, Jacob. I'm going to miss you. He was an integral part of that championship run in 24 when we won the Southern League. We don't win that without him. That being said, I think they parlayed that into a pick to get Jim Thome's kid, Landon Thome, because for me, what the White Sox do, you watch what they do with their roster and their day-to-day lineup organization. They have Vargas who can play first. I think Antonashi has played first. I think Meredith has played first. Murakami plays first. They have a lot of options. Is Jacob Gonzalez going to be a middle infielder for the Chicago White Sox? Probably not. He projects as a first baseman, but he's shown that he can handle the ABs. He can do what he needs to do. Why are you going to keep him in AAA when he can go somewhere else and start? So now you parlay that into a second first round pick. You go and you get Jim Thome's kid, which a lot of people are going to say, was that political? No, I don't want to hear that shit because he was going to go the next pick if he wasn't picked by the White Sox, and they did the right thing because this kid is a stud. Now you bolster your first overall pick of Rock. If he doesn't pan out, now you got these other picks down at the bottom of the order. You got a chance for every one of these guys to pan out. So it kind of oversees what is going to happen with Rock. If he doesn't pan out, you got other guys that are high enough up that are going to take some of that anxiety off of you taking a certain individual.
Now, I'm sure you haven't looked at him as much as a lot of people have, but what would you project the timeline is for him to make it to the majors on a normal, there isn't any, fallback or there isn't any obstruction to his approach?
Don't put a timeline on anything, Michael. You can't. So you look at Colson Montgomery, obviously a high school draft. He had to go back to Arizona out of AAA to relearn his swing a little bit. And now all of a sudden he was a borderline he's a borderline all-star this year. And he looks like a guy that's going to be a mainstay in your lineup, right? But there was a brief period of time right there where, is he going to pan out? Did we waste this pick? Which the White Sox have classically, before the last few years, have blown a lot of first-round picks. All of a sudden, it looks like that again. So don't mess this one up. So you don't put a timeline on it. If he doesn't pan out right away, we know what he's capable of. Take your time because you have other guys that are coming up. It's not the end of the world. Just wait for it. Let him develop. And if I put a timeline on it, Michael, I'd be an absolute chump. That's so ignorant to put a timeline on a guy because we don't know what it's going to look like when he gets into pro ball. There's guys like Mike Leake that go straight into the major leagues that never spent 1 second in the minor leagues, and they excel for 10 years. If we put that label on Rock, that's extremely arrogant. And
I wasn't trying to put a label on him, just trying to get a feel for when you think it would get up there.
If there is a normal path, what is like when you draft somebody, what is the percentage that you immediately put in the like a lineup, and what's the percentage that you go and you season them for a bit?
So for the 101, you kind of anticipate he's going to be in the lineup sometime in the next year and a half.
Mm-hmm.
That's what you hope. But with his talent, you just don't put a timeline on it, because if you do, you start to get anxiety about the expectations of what he's going to be. And then everybody else, if I came out right now and I was Chris Getz and I said, okay, we expect this guy to be contributing this year, and then if he's not, what is the media going to say? All of a sudden, now that puts extra pressure on him. You just don't say a word, and you say, we're going to put him up when he's ready. So realistically, though, yeah, you're 101. You want him to be able to contribute sooner than later. We'd love the talent is there that he could be there this year. However, is that responsible to say he will be? No, absolutely not. I would say a realistic timeline would be 3 years. That's what I say for every first round pick, or every pick in general. If we think he's really, obviously not your 20th round guy, but your first overall pick, yeah, I want him to be contributing in the next couple of years. But that's sometimes just not the reality of the situation. So don't put a timeline on it. But at that point, you want him to be contributing sooner than later.
So, and this is possibly a bit of a tangent. And I've been wanting to ask you your opinion of this for a while. So the Sox have like immediately turned it around, which is which I think is cool and fascinating. So in the 2 years in the basement, when like completely fall off the cliff, did you or do you have a sense of that back office? Like, is the back office completely freaking the fuck out, or is the back office calm and being like, no, this is gonna take a little bit, but we got this. Well, our system is solid.
I think in this situation, it's a hard no. Nobody panicked, because, like I said in a previous podcast, we understood the rebuild that was happening, and that's why I give Chris Getz so much credit for what he was doing, because he knew he was going to catch a lot of flack. He knew he was going to get stepped on by the ownership as well. It's like, when are we going to be good? What's going to happen with these guys? It's like, just wait. We have to, like, with our payroll and what we're actually doing, which is in the bottom 5 in the league, we know we're not going to be able to pay guys, so we have to build up what we had lost earlier through trades and everything else. Because the White Sox farm system, for a long time, after we made all these trades to try to create that rebuild in 2018, we sold a lot of guys off the farm. Well, we were looking at we were getting freaking waffle stomped in A-ball and in high A and double A for 2 years, because we didn't have anybody. We didn't have any prospects. So we were looking at the major league team like, man, you guys better win, because we stink down here. Then once Chris Getz took over and started saying, okay, look, this ain't working. We're going to go ahead and we're going to restructure from the bottom up. We're going to get the right guys in the player development division. We're going to go and we're going to acquire the right guys through trades, even though they may look bad at the time. Look what it is doing right now. And you say they turned around right away. They didn't. This was a 4-year rebuild. This has been happening for a long time, and Chris Getz has been architecting this for a while. It was pretty brilliant. Went and traded, like I said, a couple of the trades aren't what they thought they were going to be, but that happens within trades. The recent trades, like the Crochet trade, immediately it's like Crochet was a potential Cy Young. Oh my God, we could have had him in the rotation. I said the same thing. It's like, we could have had Chris Sale, Crochet, Giolito, Dylan Cease, everybody in the same rotation. That would have been great, right? With Berger, Romy Gonzalez, all these guys playing, all silver sluggers. Okay, what does that mean for the future if you're not going to pay these guys? Which obviously the White Sox are not classically going to do. So what Chris Getz did is he got value. The scouting department went out and saw guys that they liked. We developed them, and now they're in the major leagues. Oh my God, they turned it around in 1 year. No, it was a 4-year rebuild. All of this happened systematically. It was all a designed plan by the front office, and they did a phenomenal job. And now it looks like we're set up for future success because there's more guys coming up from the minor leagues now. Plus, you look at the draft that we have. You got Rock. You got Tomei's kid, Landon. You have this beast that they drafted in the third round, the kid out of Georgia that throws 101. Now you got a potential setup or closer guy behind Logan Taylor or Grant. I am blanking on his name. He just closed out yesterday. Either way, you all of a sudden you have a bunch of controllable contracts from young guys. We look like the Rays. This is a really, really good group with a lot of high upside in the future. Boys, what a good job. Getz.
The reason I bring this up because when the basement was happening, and there were more than one show when I was doing Sports Talk Chicago that Joey and plenty of people that were calling for Getz's head, and during that time, I got a drunken phone call, not from Mike. Mike's like, "Hey, I got John on the phone. He wants to talk about the Sox." And so,
I remember this day.
So in this ear, Joey's like, "Fire Getz, get rid of this guy." And this year, I got like a drunk John go, "Nah, he's fine. You don't understand. He's got it in place." So, it's like the angel and the devil. I'm like looking at both of them. I'm like, how is this going to shake out?
It's amazing that I didn't divulge any intimate details at that point because I did have a couple of cocktails. I had a couple of Chardonnays, what of it, So
but I never talked about that conversation because Mike did message me the next day, was like, "Hey, John was drunk and he may have said something. So,
oh, shut up. I didn't say anything. I'm pretty good even when I've had a couple of cocktails of keeping it pretty low key.
But it was okay. But it was very, very amusing. And you had talked me off the ledge as well. I was like, well, okay. If Eli says we're going to be okay, we're going to be okay.
And look at us now. Look at us now.
Oh, it's fantastic.
I remember.
Let's go.
I remember 3 years ago, you were telling me what Getz was doing and the way he was rebuilding, and that, you just got to ride it out. They're going to suck for a couple years, and then they're going to, by year 3, they're going to be getting good and, maybe even contending. And right now, everything's followed the timeline you told me almost 3 years ago.
Well, and we talk about this from the reason we started this podcast is talk about what the casual fan looks at and what the filthy casual fan looks at, and then what somebody from the inside actually sees, and what our projection is. We're a little bit less reactionary. Like I keep using that word reactionary, right? Because you see what's going to happen and you expect a certain amount of recourse, right? You expect a certain amount of, this is what people are going to say, and we know they're going to say it because of course they would. Why wouldn't you as a fan? If I was a casual fan and I was looking at it from the outside, it's just like looking at the Bears. Oh my God. It's the same thing. It's the same song and dance. I've seen, new coach, everything else, blah, blah, blah. But if you look at what is actually being done and you say, okay, we've put in the work to make sure that these guys are prepared and we understand that we have the right coaching staff and everything else, you kind of have a different viewpoint and you're a little bit more patient, right? Which is where it took me a long time, but I'm in that boat of, I have patience for it because we know that the work was put in. So now these guys are ready and it's like, oh, this happened out of nowhere. No, it didn't. A lot of work went into all this. A lot of work went in, and you see the talent, you see what the projectability is from a lot of these players, right? On the PD side, it's like, oh, this kid is going to be good. And I have stats, I have numbers, I have everything to back that up. And you're just going to have to wait and see. But when you lose so much in the past, and that goes for every Chicago sport, right? Cubs, Sox, Bears, Bulls, everybody else. And you can look at every situation differently. But internally, when you see okay, I understand what it takes to be good, you start saying, yeah, we're going to be okay as long as this pans out. And yeah, there is a little bit of hold your breath. Will it pan out? But at the same time, you have a pretty educated guess as to the fact that it's going to be okay because these guys do project. And then it becomes a personality thing. That is where the scouting department comes into place, where did we get the right guys? Okay, well, I can go pay for as many guys as I want, but if I know that this guy's the right guy that's coming up and I developed him, guys, I have a really good idea that this team is going to be good in a couple of years. Educated guess, educated foresight is what we're looking at. And that's what we have right here with the White Sox. That's what we have with the Bears. That's what I hope we have with the Blackhawks, and that's what I hope we have with the Bulls. The Cubs, I don't know. I don't know. But we'll see. We'll see. And I hope they're good.
I'd like to bring up something. This may be basic for some people, not others, but in football, the casual fan knows you want to draft from your lines out. You start out with your offensive line, your defensive line. Not a lot of people know about that philosophy in regards to baseball, and you've talked to me about it a couple times. So give us a recap for someone who doesn't know anything about how you build a team in baseball, how you draft and how you build that team. You were telling me once about this, the basic structure you built from the center out.
Yeah, so I think we actually talked about this in a previous podcast, but if it was up to me, you look at the most successful organizations in the past, and the foundation is, number one, really, really good defense and pitching. Pitching is primary, right? If you don't have good pitching, then like you can have the best. You look at what the Pirates have right now, and the Pirates have one of the best pitching staffs with Skeens, Ashcroft, and a couple of those other guys. Like you take that pitching staff and you put it in the Yankees locker room, or you put it in somebody else's locker room, and it's a no-brainer. These guys are kind of a no-doubt shoo-in for, kind of at least a run at a World Series, right? Mm-hmm. But classically, like the best teams, they draft up the middle: catcher, pitching, shortstop, and center field, right? Because if you draft these players, they can move out, they can branch out to the other sides of the field. If you're drafting to say, okay, let's just say that Jim Thome, just because he's on my mind because Landon just got drafted.
Which is very cool, by the way.
It was awesome. I love that. And it's so cool. And Jim is the best guy. I just talked to him the other day. He's one of the best freaking guys in the world. But so let's just say Jim Thome is being drafted as a first baseman by the Chicago White Sox. You better be drafting him because he's the one piece that you need in order to win a championship. Okay, so if I'm not drafting up the middle to expand the ability for my organization to get better in the future, then what am I like? I might spend one of my 20th round draft picks on a high upside corner outfielder or a first baseman or somebody with speed or intangibles that you can't teach that doesn't have a position. That's when you draft those guys, but you don't draft your first 5 picks outside of the center of the field. Just the same way that you would in football, you're going to draft offensive line, defensive line, quarterback, your skill guys. Okay, when the Falcons drafted Julio Jones on the outside, they weren't ready. That's why they never won a championship. They had Matt Ryan, they had a couple pieces, but their offensive line was crap, right? So you look at the Seahawks, the Patriots, everybody else that are perennial contenders, they draft offensive line, defensive line, and they build their team out and they acquire position players later, right? Quarterback number 1. So that's the same thing. Draft pitching, have a pool of pitchers that can contribute, right? Studs. Then you draft great position players, great catching, which is the stable of what you need. The catcher is the general of your entire team. If you have a great catcher, great pitchers, and good middle infielders, you're going to be good forever. So that's how I imagine the draft going every single time. Bet on the best players that you have up the middle.
And that's because of the defense that they give you.
Defense, right, obviously, no, you're looking at the hitting as well, but it's kind of a give and take, right? Best available player that is in those that drops into those buckets, right? So if I'm looking at, I have a need at starting pitching, and I'm in the 6th round. Am I going to take a kid that might be an organizational player? He's a pretty good starter. He went to UCLA or whatever it is. Yeah, it's not a bad pick. But does he project? Okay, but do I take the high school shortstop that could potentially be a game changer? And if he doesn't pan out, it doesn't matter because I have a stable of guys already. I take the shortstop because that boosts my stock within my organization because I have this. At the worst, he has the talent. He plays the positions. He can branch out. And at the end of the day, now we look at a kid that we can either trade or we can push up the ladder.
No, but I'm trying to get on like the philosophy behind it. Like, why would you, without going over names, why would you draft a shortstop over a third baseman, all things being equal?
It depends on what that skill set looks like.
Okay.
Can that third baseman play other positions? Oh, sorry. Can that third baseman play other positions?
I know I draft an
what does the hit
lineman.
tool look like? What do the hands look like? What do the hit tool look like? What is the called strike whiff? There's a lot of things that go into that, right? So I'm going to take the best guy available. And typically the best guy available is going to be up the middle. If a guy that is, say it's a Cal third baseman, right? He goes to California and he's only played third base. And I look at him and say, can he play first? Can he play a corner outfield position? What do I have here? Okay, if he's only a third baseman, why wouldn't I take somebody that is versatile? That is doing a lot of the same things. You have to look at the pool of players that these guys have in the draft as well. It's massive. It's way different than college football because you have a finite group of guys that's like, okay, we know what we have. In baseball, you're looking at Canadians, you're looking at the international pool, you're looking at a much larger group of kids in general. So what am I looking at as projectability? And that's what your scouting department has to do is, okay, this guy's got the numbers, this guy has the projectability, this guy's in high school, this guy's in college. Let's weigh them. What makes the most sense for our organization? Okay, if I'm one pick away and this kid is hitting 400 at Cal, yeah, I'll take him in the 6th. But realistically, I'm probably going to take that shortstop out of high school because his upside is more. And I already drafted my first, second, third, fourth round kids that are going to be a little bit more projectable for impact in the near future.
All right.
Does that answer your question?
It answers the question. It's not what I was looking for, but we're fine.
What were you looking?
I was just looking.
What were you looking for?
I was looking not looking for injury, but overall philosophy. Like I know in football, I want to draft offensive linemen because they pay dividends other than just block people. They protect my quarterback.
You cannot compare the NFL draft to the MLB draft.
Once upon a time, we had a conversation, and you kind of were going on about how you draft up the middle because they're going to be more likely to be your impact players, more likely to play more, that their defense is going to be more contributable.
Listen, Michael, if I draft that shortstop out of high school instead of the Cal third baseman, do you think that shortstop can't move over to the third base?
Sure.
So that answers your question, right?
But I think a third baseman a lot of times could be a shortstop too, but maybe I'm wrong in that.
You're wrong.
All right.
Because it's not that easy.
That was my next question, like position shifting, because a shortstop is versatile to begin with. Like the shortstop can easily cover other bases, but I hate to bring up Moneyball like I'm going to do 3,000 times over the next year, but one of my favorite scenes is they go, he's like, telling the catcher to play first base. He's like, well, I've only played catcher. He's like, it's not that hard. Tell him it's unbelievably hard.
It's incredibly hard. Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I actually, there's a really good point that Chris Getz actually brought up in a group one time. It was actually in a group setting. We're talking about moving a guy from shortstop to second base. And he's like, you know what? I'm going to stop this right now. And I'm going to tell you right now. Everybody says, oh, we can just move him to second base. Well, Chris Getz played second base in the big leagues for a long time. And he's like, it's not that easy just to move a guy over to another position.
Right.
Okay, it's very difficult to go from shortstop to second. It's a completely different priority set. It's a completely different look at the field. It is not just, if you look at just the throws to be made. Yeah, okay, a guy with a weaker arm can play second base. No, not always. It's a different skill set. And yes, if you play up the middle, you're more apt to be able to move from one side to the other. And I think that it's easier to go from the center to the corners because it's more of a reaction speed type of thing. And you're playing that off of the bat as well. So like if I have a shortstop that doesn't have the range, I can move him to third possibly if he can hit. Like look at what the White Sox do with Colson Montgomery. Colson is one of the best shortstops in the league right now. I think he's second in WAR behind Bobby Witt, which is incredible. Nobody's talking about that. However, they've played him at third base a lot of times. They could probably move him to second, but it's not that easy. If you take a guy that's a third baseman that has never played another position and just say, okay, well, he can field, let's put him at second base, let's put him at short. It's not that easy. You're looking at it from perspective of, well, why can't he just move over? It's not that hard. It's very hard. It's extremely hard. Your priority set from third to short or from third to second changes irrevocably. The relays from the outfield, the positioning from where you need to be on every single play is astronomically different than it would be at third base. Now you have to learn that, okay? And not saying they can't, because a lot of these guys have played these positions at some point in their life, but not in the major league level. We don't know if they're going to be, it's going to translate. I mean, there's been players in the past that they've tried to move from one place to another, and they just ended up not hitting too because they're so worried about the priority set. It happens. So you have to understand up the middle transfers better to the corners than the corners do to the middle.
Well, that makes more sense.
Yes.
Alrighty. So, you see, we're getting toward the hour mark. So do you have any bets this week, John?
Okay, I got one.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, actually, you know what? I have a would you rather. This is from my wife, by the way.
Are we going to introduce this as a segment?
Well, we can.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
my wife suggested do a would you rather, and
Okay.
I couldn't think of one at first, and now I'm trying to think. I think I have one. And Michael, John, Filthy Casual, Big Western.
Mm-hmm.
Would you rather, moving forward with everything considered, best possible case scenario from both lineups, would you rather have the White Sox lineup or the Cubs lineup for the next 5 years?
White Sox. And not even thinking about it, White Sox. And that doesn't come from like a bias either. There's plenty of players that I love on that Cubs team. Like
Michael, what do you think?
PCA is going to kill it forever.
So my instinct
is right now the best player in the big leagues, but go ahead.
My instinct is to go with the Cubs because I've always been with the Cubs, but right now for 5 years and I can't change anything, I'd probably go with the White Sox because I think over the next 5 years they're going to improve more, and over the next 5 years I think the Cubs have kind of close to peak, and I think they're going to. I think some of them are do well, but I think some of them are going to deteriorate or start to see signs of plateauing. Whereas I think the White Sox over the next 5 years are going to continue to improve.
I think it's going to be a good 5 year run for the White Sox. Like I think it's going to be that similar like that 2003 to 2007 for the White Sox.
I don't think the Cubs are going to suck over the next 5 years, but I think they've improved as much as they're going to. They're near their peak and are rounding it, whereas the Sox are just going to get better.
And also the NL Central is such a tough division. Like the Brewers are just slaughtering people right now.
Take that part out. Take that part out.
Take that part of it.
Yeah,
Like
put it in a
lineup?
vacuum. Yeah, put it in
like
a vacuum.
pure lineup.
Just
like
pure
lineup.
lineup.
Yeah, I'm taking the White Sox. Because I'm excited about the White Sox.
I'll take the White Sox too, and I'll preface that by saying the contracts are much more controllable. So you're looking at a cohesive unit. Like, let's say they extend Murakami, which I think they're going to. Them trading Gonzalez away kind of solidified that for me, because you're not looking for a backup plan now. Because now you play Vargas at first, you play Antonacci at first, you play Meredith at first, or Mydroth, at first. You are looking at a group of guys that can move around the field, kind of like the Rays used to do. When they had Zoidberg and a few other guys, like they move guys around and they have controllable contracts. They don't have a ton of superstars, but they're locking those guys up for controllable contracts, right? So you look at 5 years down the road, they're going to have the same core, and they're going to have more guys that are coming up with one of the best farm systems in the world right now. So I would take the White Sox because of the cohesiveness within that clubhouse, and the fact that the Cubs, they have Bregman on a high leverage contract that is short term. They have Nico Horner, who is going to demand a little bit more money. They have Dansby Swanson, I think it is, that he's an elite defender. Can he hit? You have Ian Happ, who's going to be probably coming up to the end of his contract too. So we're looking at a lot of contracts that are probably going to be terminated, and they have to look at internally. Like Bush is going to be there for a bit. You have Triantos coming up. You have a few other guys, Alcantara, who's coming up. Are they going to be good? I don't know.
Well, that's the answer to a question you didn't ask.
Well,
because you said keep the lineups.
Did you do the homework, Michael?
Well, if you're keeping the lineups, you're not changing the contract. I'm throwing that out.
I said 5 years.
Right. Yeah, 5 years. 5 years, you're not changing the contract. 5 years. You said you're keeping the lineup. So if I'm keeping the lineup, then I'm not changing anything in 5 years. So
but you have to
looking at the players I have.
Lineup. Listen to the question, Michael. I mean, for Christ's sake.
I did.
I said, in the next 5 years, look at the lineups.
You say next 5 years, which lineup do you want?
Yeah, exactly. And you look at the contracts.
The lineup's not changing in 5 years. So the contracts aren't there.
It is if you look at the contracts. I'm taking the White Sox. You know what? Actually, here, you know what? I'll double down. No contracts. Put it in a vacuum, like I said before. I'll still take the White Sox.
Yeah, I'm still taking the White Sox because there's
So I'm looking at the players they have now.
More upside to the White Sox.
They are flat out better than the Cubs.
Yeah,
they're better.
And
sorry, bud. And this is that's not even bias.
I think they're positioned better right now. And if I wasn't going to change anything, but I think the Cubs are on a closing window and the Sox are on an opening one.
You're probably right. That's the smartest thing you've said all day, Michael.
I don't think Ian Happ's going to be on the Cubs in 5 years.
Yeah, the Cubs have a bunch of guys. The Cubs have a bunch of guys that you'd be okay if they dated your sister. They have a whole bunch of Robins. They have no Batman. Yeah. They have one Batman, and it's PCA.
Yeah, PCA.
And let's be realistic. He's going to be on the Dodgers or the Yankees here in the next 6 years. So,
really, you think so?
Oh, who knows? They're going to have a rebuild because they stink.
Yeah.
I'm joking. Yeah. Cubs fans, I'm sorry.
Well, let's close this out.
All right,
guys. We are Two Johns and a Mike, and we are so happy you guys tuned in. If you did, and I hope you do. So we will be back again, and we will have more controversial topics where Michael's probably wrong and I'm probably right. And we'll move on from there. Love you guys, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, everyone.